Yes. Welcome back to the Paid Search Podcast. My name is Jason Rothman. As always, I'm joined by the great Chris Schaefer. Chris, how are you doing today?
I am great. It's so weird, I mean, guys, we don't do this full time.
What's wrong, Chris?
Yeah, we don't do this full time. So literally, I'll go from talking to clients, working on campaigns, putting out fires, trying to get the guy to uncock the gun that's pointed to my head, and like, hey, hang on a second. Then I stop and say, hey guys, welcome to the Paid Search Podcast. So sometimes my brain is not, I'm like, I'm a working man, I just set the hammer down and I'm gonna have to pick it back up right when it's over. So, you're hearing we're in the pit here. We're in the pit and they're gnawing at my ankles as I speak.
So you're feeling very human emotions right now, very raw, tender emotions.
Which I know you love. Yes.
Well, if you ever want to go down this road of suppressing feelings, not dealing with them, and being able to switch on a dime what part of the day you're dealing with, just let me know and we can have a little discussion.
Okay. Well, great.
Because I don't have
I'll join you on. I'll join you on one of your many other podcasts that you have. I mean, you have like 16 other things.
Oh, that was passive aggressive. Wow. Someone might have seen the Rothman PPC podcast out in the Apple podcast streets.
On our YouTube channel. There's only one channel we're subscribed to, I think.
Yes.
And every time I open up my YouTube, it's just your stupid face all over my screen. That's all it is. It's just, and you always make the same face. Like it's just the, and I'm like, what in the heck? I'm like,
well, you know what I'm doing, Chris? Honestly, if I can get a little self-promotion on this show that I own 0.1% of, and you own 49.9. You know what we should do, Chris? Be fun is we should on things we disagree about, we should make bets and predictions, and each time we should bet like 0.25% of the ownership of the show, just see what happens with it. And over time see if one person just totally like gets way more ownership
owning the show.
Yeah.
Once you hit like a 75% mark, you can change the name to your name. Like that's the high stakes.
Yes. I'm thinking higher than that. Clean off these host numbers here, but that's a different story for a different day. But Chris, just a little self-promotion. I mean, we're all dealing with this thing we're all dealing with. I'm sick of saying the name even, but what I'm doing is I'm doing a video every single day. Basically, I missed a couple days, but every single day until we get past talking a little bit of about it and a little bit about Google Ads. So it's been fun, and I'm glad you're tuning in, Chris. So today we have some questions and answers, and we want to thank everyone for leaving us reviews for the show. We're up to over 200. We're almost at 240 in the United States, and reviews all around the world. Those help us grow the show and get found by more people. And I also want to thank Kyle Solarud and tell you about his program, his training program, EliteLocalAds.com. Professionals out there, listen up. If you're running Google Ads for a local business or for many local businesses, then we encourage you to check out EliteLocalAds.com. Elite Local Ads is a comprehensive training program put together by our friend Kyle Solarud, designed to help you get more customers for any local business using Google Ads. The program includes 8 complete training modules covering everything from keywords to ads to advanced campaign optimization, retargeting, and much more. It's not an inexpensive program, but the value is off the charts, and there is even a 30-day refund policy if you're at all worried about the investment. Kyle says with over 150 students, he's only ever had one person request a refund. You can see more for yourself at EliteLocalAds.com, including several testimonials from people who have been through the program already. Again, that's for anyone who's running Google Ads for local businesses. Check out elitelocalads.com, and we will have a link in the description, and you guys should definitely check that out. So, Chris, we've got some questions and answers today. For anyone who has a question for us, leave us a comment on, tweet us a question, or send us a question at paidsearchpodcast.com, and we answer questions every Thursday on the Thursday edition of the Paid Search Podcast. So, Chris, let's get into the questions.
First question is from Windsor. Gosh, I'm always so conscious now about how I say the words, because I know, like, you're not going to tell me that it's wrong until after I read the entire question and pass it off to you. Then you're going to tell me. But anyway, I'm just going to go for it. Brandon from Windsor, Canada. Hey guys, huge fan, all caps there. In your opinion, what's the best way to scale out your account? I'd imagine it would be, the best method would be importing via Google Ads Editor. We're looking for ad groups, keywords, and ad creation. So he wants to create lots of ad groups, lots of keywords, lots of ads. Probably, started off with a smaller campaign and realizing he needs to really ramp up the precision of the targeting, and you know where he's going. So, Jason, what do you think?
So yeah, ramping up the size of your account. Now, Chris, we always joke on this show lately about, well, what does a lot of ad groups mean? Does that mean going from 1 to 4? And I would say if you're going to do a lot, like 4, you could probably just do it manually with some copy and pasting and renaming and all that. But of course, that is because we're on a very simple style approach these days, and we exaggerate that for comedic effect. However, there are situations where you have massive accounts full of campaigns, 40 campaigns, 50, more than 50, massive amounts of ad groups. Even if it's only like 10 ad groups per campaign, now we're talking 500 ad groups because that's 50 campaigns, and then a lot of keywords. So, and a lot of ads. So the question is, how do you put that all into your account quickly? And Chris, I'm sure there's cool things you can do with your settings inside of a Google Ads account when you're trying to scale things, copy and pasting, all that kind of stuff. But you know what? It's a very powerful platform, Google Ads. And sometimes when you're moving around and trying to do a lot of stuff like that, it takes time in the account because there's just so much going on, and time is money. So I really do use Editor tremendously when it comes to large accounts. Like I really do, whether it's scaling out and building new ad groups and campaigns, or it's editing that data and maybe having to make both changes. So Chris, I think we can, I'd be curious, what are your thoughts on Editor specifically when it comes to creating a large account? And then I think we can talk about Sheets, and I think we can talk about copying and pasting inside Editor, combining it with Google Ads work in the console. I kind of like doing that. So I'm going to make a note on that. And then why don't you talk about what are your thoughts on Editor scaling out an account, building a lot of campaigns, ad groups?
So Brandon, I'll give you my suggestion. Jason's entirely right. Editor is the place to go. There is no other tool that can build on a custom finite level like Google Ads Editor. That's it. There's nothing out there. There's tools that can build. We've had sponsors on the show that can build, all kinds of campaigns at the push of a button and stuff like that. But those are automated. It sounds like what you're really looking for is scaling based on precision, scaling based on exactly the right type of terms, or the right in the exact ad groups with the right kind of ad copy. So if you're selling cars, you're gonna have different brands, different models. You're gonna have to have all those broken out.
I need a minute.
It gets scary. So my suggestion, Jason's. He's had some hard times with auto campaigns. Yeah,
Car
we're all feeling your
dealerships are
pain.
tough, Chris.
Car
I mean, that is
dealership.
this car sold yesterday. That car just came in. We got to get off the lot. Oh
Change it
man.
now. Turn that off. Turn this on.
Oh, go
Yeah.
ahead. Don't mind me.
Don't mind you. Don't mind the yelling man in the back room.
You know what, Chris? I just walked by this. You know how you like that?
Yeah.
Does
When am I
someone
going
want
to get
this,
mine?
Chris?
Yeah.
I don't
When am I
know.
gonna
I'm
get
working
mine?
on it. I got these car
I've
dealership
been looking.
campaigns holding me up, but I'm working on it. Look at that. We got the T-shirt. Okay, it's coming. It's a
Yeah.
little wrinkled because it's been in the office.
I've been looking in my mail. I haven't seen it.
Anybody want the sticker? We could
Oh,
do
look
the
at that
sticker on the wall. You like that?
Oh,
What
man.
else do we have?
I didn't know they got shipments in jail.
It's a little it's a little out of season, but for the colder
Hey, a
parts of the
hoodie.
world right now, the southern
Yeah.
hemisphere, Australia, you want the hoodie? So hit us up
Yeah.
if you're interested in that, and we'll figure out a way to make it happen. Go ahead, Chris. Don't mind me. Don't mind me.
Wow. Don't mind you. Don't mind the man moaning in the back pitching products. Wow. Okay, let's move on.
Carry on. Carry on.
So I don't like sheets. I'm gonna say it. I'm not comfortable with
What
sheets.
is this? What I walked back into? What are you
Yeah.
talking about? You don't
No,
like?
I saved it until you got
What
here.
are
I
you
saved it.
talking about?
I don't like sheets. I don't like using Excel, spreadsheets, sheets, Google Sheets. I don't like any of it because I'm not comfortable with it. I end up spending more time screwing up and messing up my, trying to customize my sheet to work the way I want it to. I can build
I see that.
something in Google Editor, a Google Ads editor, way faster. I mean, I can go in.
This is an interesting.
And what I do
breakdown.
is let me explain
How do you do it?
how I do it.
How do you do it without sheets? Tell me how you do it. Because this is a bold move. How do you do it without sheets?
I have a campaign that I'll create, and then I will in that campaign I'll have an ad group for let's say car models, right? Let's do cars. So it'll have the name of the ad group will be type. Don't start moaning. Don't do it. It'll have like Toyota, say Highlander or Camry or something like that. So it'll have some XYZ instead of saying the word Camry. It'll say Toyota and then XYZ. So that's my template. And I create that. I create that as the campaign name. Then in the ad groups, I have model number 1, model number 2, model number 3. And then that creates a layout for multiple models for each of those Camrys. And then inside of each of those ad groups, I create model 1, keyword 1, so I'll write XYZ model 1 for sale, XYZ model 1 new, something like that. So what this does is it builds a template that can be easily scaled, copy paste, and then I use the find and replace feature in the AdWords editor to just say replace everything where it says XYZ in this campaign to change it to Camry. Boom, everything changes.
Everything in the campaign name or ad group name, keywords.
Well, no, you have to do it keyword
at different levels. Okay.
Yeah, you have to do different levels. So it takes a little longer there. But in the end, the hardest work for me is creating that initial
prep
framework template,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I like it in AdWords Editor because in spreadsheet, I end up screwing things up. And then once you get in the spreadsheet, guess what? You probably did something wrong where you import it and it doesn't work. It breaks. Now you got to do it again.
Okay.
That's it. That's how I like to do it.
All right. Well, that's a downside of sheets. But what's interesting is I come at it from the same perspective with sheets because what I do in the sheet, Chris? Just like you're talking about where you have XYZ, 1, 2, 3, however you want to do it, you set up a template. Mm-hmm. And then you can highlight different parts of the sheet, find and replace XYZ with that topic, that car model, whatever. And then I do that with ad copy. I do it with ad group names. I do it with keywords. But it's tough. You got to have skills in that department because what about the plus signs with broad match modify? What about the format of the cells and all that kind of stuff? So
combining things properly.
I understand your point. Now, the upside is if you do have that skill set in editor in sheets, and Chris, you'll always make mistakes in sheets. We make mistakes in sheets all the time. and I'm an expert at sheets and Excel and all that. So the thing you got to be good at is catching and identifying where the mistakes are and how to fix them, because you will make mistakes when you're dealing with a ton of data. Now, the interesting thing is that we both do that, the find and replace. I think the upside of the sheets is you can do everything looking at one square or rectangle area, and you can scroll up and down quickly, and you go, oh, this is where my ad groups are listed. This is where my ads are listed. This is where my keywords are listed. As opposed to in the editor, you have to go to the little navigation for ad groups, find and replace all that stuff. Then you got to go to a different navigation area, click the keywords, then come back up to which ad group you're talking about with keywords. And so that's the downside. There's no upsides and pros and cons.
I'll say that I totally agree. There is way more clicking involved when you're doing it in AdWords Editor, Google Ads Editor. But there's a trick. You can actually, in Google Ads Editor, you can click and say hide empty elements, and it will hide all the, if you don't have audiences set up, it'll just have that whole audiences thing will be gone. So if you only have keywords, ads, ad groups, campaigns, it'll just have those 4 elements for you to click on. So there's no more like expand the tree, scroll down till you see it, then click on keywords. It makes the whole interface way simpler. So little things like that really speed things up.
Here's a tip. Here's a little tip for editor, a little tip to make editor a little easier, a little tip. When you do have, what is it called, Chris? Hide non-used things or whatever. What's it called?
Yeah. That's
something like that.
Element. I don't know exactly.
Yeah. Hide elements you're not using, whatever it is. Here's a little tip. When you go into editor and you only see a few selections and you're like, where's this thing I need to change? It's because you have hide things you're not using still checked on, and you got to turn that off so you can see things you don't have any things yet on, so you can turn them back on. So so it's tough. But Chris, you know what? I have underserved humanity, not making training videos or whatever on Google Ads Editor. I'm a Google Ads Editor Pro. And there's no one better than me in the planet at Google Ads Editor. Maybe some people are as good, but no one's better. And Chris, it all happened because my first big client, like years and years ago, my first big client, and I was like, wow, this is awesome. I worked hard for them, and it was a huge, huge account. And there were they had different businesses, so I was doing 2 accounts for them. And man, I used editor and sheets so much, and they actually taught me. I didn't have to kind of learn it or anything. They just taught me. And then by doing it, and by the way, they were very aggressive people. And I don't know. We had an arrangement where I kind of had to do it, or else little boy couldn't go outside. We'll get into it one day. But I was under a lot of pressure working for them, and it made iron. So
I would say. I would say your method is by far the most efficient, more professional way of doing it. I mean, if somebody's good at it,
extreme. If you're talking 10 campaigns, 20 ad groups per campaign, I can see doing everything in the editor, and I do that sometimes. But if you're talking super, super large, that is where I think sheets kind of start paying off. And I don't know what the point is in terms of size where the sheets become just obviously needed. But I do think the bigger the account is, the more important getting with sheets is.
Yeah. I would say the cutoff is when the amount of grind that you have to find replace in the editor becomes daunting, and you think this is going to take me all day, and then you may even make a mistake because you have to go in and manually check all of that. I'd say if you have more, I don't know, to throw a number at people, more than 20 campaigns, sheets are probably going to be ideal. Below 20, 10, 5, sure, absolutely, editor is going to be the idea. So there you go. That's
Chris, honestly, I'm getting a little nervous looking at this question about sheets and editor, because it's not easy. I'm feeling a little stressed right now. You get those requests, okay, change all headlines to read this ad copy, and there's thousands and thousands of ads, and it's oh man, you got to make sure you do it right. But
can I say one thing? I've mentioned it before on the show. what has saved my butt, and you were so glad I mentioned it, just to remind people, if you have things like that where you need to do massive scales and it is in the ad copy, you can do that with the ad variations tool, which is in the experiments section, where you can say replace every headline with this. And if it's like for a season, if it's a seasonal kind of thing, you can run that ad variation with a 50-50 split, or 75-25 split, something like that. So there's lots of ways to avoid having to do that and permanently change all of your ad copy if it has to go back and forth and you want to test things. So that's always another factor as well.
Chris, there's a lot of tiers out there from people doing Google ads, having to do things at scale, not knowing all the capabilities with ad variations, editors, sheets, all that kind of stuff. And it's such a weird platform. And one of the reasons I'm great at it is because it takes both parts of the brain. It takes the creative, the ad copy, the marketing side of things, psychology. But then it also takes, if you want to be great at it, technical, engineer, what's the most efficient way, learn the platform, learn the blueprint kind of stuff. So very interesting.
Definitely.
Next question, Chris. Donna from our Patreon group. Patreon.com/ and then you pause. Well, you look it up. You just pause. Okay. Patreon.com/ paid search podcast. We have hundreds of patrons. We do an after show every single week. It comes out on Mondays after the main Monday show. $2 a month for audio. Sometimes I drag Chris into deep waters. I think we went 35 minutes last time.
Yeah.
It's getting kind of long.
Longer and longer.
And then video.
Can we raise those? Is there an inflation rate that can be assigned to patrons,
You know what? If you knew everything about Patreon and we were together, and I don't know why violence is on my mind lately, but every podcast I bring up violence, you'd probably physically attack me, because there's something about Patreon where it's like, you don't get the first like X amount of cents, because that's just a fee straight off the top. And then when you're charging $2, it gets pretty small what people are actually paying. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know, Chris. We're going to have to figure that out.
No. That was an early, like, hey, let's just do a Patreon. $2 sounds good. We were like, okay, we're going to stick to it. Dang it. All right. What's Donna say?
Oh, dang it. Okay. So Donna says, you guys are the best. Does changing your budgets during the month affect the performance of your campaigns? I want to maximize my conversions each month without ever going over budget. Chris, breaking news here. The other day we got a question about monthly budgets in Google Ads, and if you could set monthly budgets, when we always thought daily budgets were the thing, the only thing. And we were like, what is that about? Well, there was a search engine land article from April 1, a few days ago. Google Ads ends monthly campaign budget test. Any campaigns using it will be switched to daily budget. Google has ended its short-lived test of monthly ad budgets, it appears. Advertisers that had access are now being notified, according to this blah, blah, blah. Advertisers were told, quote, monthly budgeting will no longer be available as of April 2020. Your campaign budgets will automatically switch to daily then, or you can update to daily budgets anytime before April. Now, one interesting thing, Chris, whenever there's like an end to a feature in Google Ads, it's always like, we're going to end this 9 months from now or something like that. Yeah. But apparently they ended this one fast. So for anyone out there that thinks they have their own Google Ads podcast, thinks they're the best Google Ads freelancers on the planet, and they would answer this question by going, oh, just set your monthly budget. It's a new product from Google Ads. No, it's not. They're removing it, and I've got the proof. So I just had to put a stop to that initially, Chris. So yeah, changing your budget during the month, does it affect your performance? What are your thoughts, Chris?
And
Chris, put it in the context of dealing with a client that says, hey, get me great results, do what you need to do, but if you go 1 penny over that budget, I will fire you.
Oh gosh.
Monthly
you know what?
Budget.
I think
don't do the F me money thing. Don't do
that's exactly where I was going. That's exactly where I was going.
All right, let's just say hypothetical. There's a global pandemic. There's so many people filing for unemployment that it's off the charts compared to anything we've ever seen before since the 1970s when they started recording.
Hypothetical.
And maybe you want to start getting the clients you can get. Maybe you're just in that mindset, Chris. Maybe you're just stressed out and you host a paid search podcast and you're wondering what's happening to your world, and you make Corona Clicks videos every day telling everyone it's going to be okay, but you don't know if it's okay actually yourself. But you're doing it for the people, Chris. Put yourself in that mindset. I will fire you if you go 1 penny over the monthly budget, and don't do the F me money thing. You will take the client.
Okay. Well, Donna, I'm not sure if you're at gunpoint of not going over budget, but I'll answer your question in the way that you asked. And I would say it won't affect your performance as far as conversions, because conversions are based on the traffic that you get. So people aren't going to be any less likely to convert just because they you drop the budget by a few dollars. What it will affect is how much Google is pacing that spend throughout the month. So if you change the budget, and we're living in 2020 now, I'm not talking about 2016 because it was a different world back then. Nowadays, in the world of automation with Google, if you change budgets, it's the same idea as when you change an automated CPA or a maximize clicks. You change from manual to maximize clicks or something like that. Things are kind of going to fluctuate. You're going to cause some waves. So I would say it does affect things. They will even out. But for best performance, I've found that just nowadays I stick to a budget and I don't change it. I mean, I pick my budget. If the client is really hardcore about not going over, I'll go a little bit under that, because Google can go above. If you have a $2,000 a month, they might go to $2,100. They might go to $2,200. Back and forth. But usually they'll make up for it. The next month they might go under a little bit or something like that. But in the end, I'm actually very happy with what has been done with the budget system. I like that it's an aggregated system that takes into effect how much was spent a week ago, how much was spent yesterday, and it evens it out for me. Because if there's anything predictable about Google Ads, it's that yesterday is the only thing that you have no idea what's going to happen today or tomorrow. You're going to get more clicks, less clicks, no clicks, and you can't predict how much you're going to spend. So I like to just leave it as it is. Stick to it, leave it there, and don't touch it unless there is an actual budget change.
Chris, screwing around with your budget day to day and trying to time it perfectly at the end of the month, it will screw up your performance. How about that claim? You like that? Too strong?
Define performance.
It'll screw up your performance. And here's the thing. I don't have any documentation that says that. I don't even think it'll screw up your performance in the sense that it's the platform doing anything. I think, well, maybe a little bit. I'm not sure, but I think it's more of a human thing. I think I don't know, Chris. I'll just talk about my experience. Anytime I screw up with the budgets and clients go, hey, we're not running today, so put the budget down at $1. Or, hey, we were running at $100 a day, now we're going to run at 20. Then the next day we're going to run at 200.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know if it does anything to the platform in terms of the algorithms, the black box, all that kind of stuff, screwing with the data input. I don't know what it does on a human level, forcing the Google Ads Manager to be in spots where they make bad decisions because they're focused on that. Or if it's a combination. I don't have any documentation. I don't have any proof other than my experience. When I'm in a situation like that, it does not work. Now, does that mean it's because of this actual situation, or does that mean that's just a bad advertiser who's just all scattered in general, and this is just one symptom of an underlying disease? I don't know. But all I know is that when this is the case, things don't go right. And so my advice is stick to a budget. If you do want to change your budget, you're running at $2,000 a month, and then you want to cut back, and it's the middle of the month, and you want to start pacing for $1,000, do it. A week later, you decide, oh, it's too low. I want to go back up to 1,500, do it. Like, don't be worried about changing your budget, but don't do it every single day, and generally try to stick to a monthly budget, and don't count pennies. That's my best advice, Chris. Don't count pennies. You'll live happier, because the system is just like, there's 30 days in a month this month. There's 31 days in a month next month. The month after that, there's 28 days. Like, there's a holiday this month and there was no spend on a big Monday. Like, that stuff happens. And if you're worried about spending $2,100 at the end of the month versus 2,000, or 2,050 versus 2,000, or 1,950 versus 2,000, you're just going about it wrong. And so I would not be that focused on hitting your budget. And I don't know what a good rule of thumb is, but maybe 10%, have some 10% slack in either direction. Like, you're spending $2,000 a month, you come in at 1,800, who cares? You're spending 2,000, you come in at 2,200, who cares? You can't really try to time it perfectly. I mean, you can, but to me, it's a waste of time.
I tend to overspend almost all my clients. I mean, that straight up.
By how much?
If they say
like 5 or 10%?
By 5 to 10% every month. You know, I'm typically over. Sometimes I'm under, but most of the time, I've said it before, most of my clients are underfunded on Google Ads. This just seems to be the case. Most of the time, people just don't put all the money they could into the system.
Because of a lack of tracking, because of lack of conversion value tracking, because of lack of respect for non-report conversions, because of lack of respect for what it does for their business, because of timidity, and because of a lack of smarts, really. You got to make it right. You got to make sure it's running right. Once it's running right, you got to put money into it to make money. You know,
it's a lack of knowledge. Yeah, it's a lack of knowledge of what the system's doing for them. And
also, there's some jilted lovers who had experiences in the past with Google Ads, and maybe it didn't go the way they wanted it to go, and they can never trust again. Will they ever love again? We don't know. Then they find guys like us, and they start to love again. Take it from there.
Oh, I didn't know if you were done. It's such an interesting love story. I wasn't going to stop you. Okay. Kim from Copenhagen, an international question. Hi, thank you for a great podcast. What is your take on this? Should we generally move to Google Ads conversion tracking? And then she gives us a link. And let me summarize exactly what this link is referencing. It's a very lengthy discussion. We're not going to, I don't want to talk about where it's from. You know, mainly it's just a point that's being made that says conversions imported from Google from Google Analytics into Google Ads is not a good idea. They technically say it does not actually make sense. Okay. A very heavy statement. I read the article. Thank you, Kim, for sending it. Think
talk about never being able to trust again. You know, you think you know what's going on with Google Analytics conversion tracking and all that, or goal importing to conversion tracking, and then you see an article like this, and you're like, "Is everything I knew a lie?" You know?
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff I don't know about the details of true marketing, analytics, click tracking kind of stuff. I can't speak to the details of it, but Jason, what do you? For the level that we can speak to it, what do you say?
I had never run into this before. I had never thought it was an issue. As I understand it, when you get a click from a traffic source like Google Ads, there's a cookie on your browser or whatever, however that stuff works. And if I then leave your website and then come back to it directly or click to another page on your website, it's not like that second page or that second visit within that short time period becomes a direct traffic. I understand it that is still a Google Ads traffic. Now, I could be wrong. I'm open to that. But I have not run into this issue before. And the reason I say that is because if I'm importing goals from Google Analytics, like filled out a lead form, saw a destination page, saw a thank you page, import that back into Google Ads as a conversion tracking, I've never been like whoa, my conversion rate is like super unnatural and super low and something's
Yeah.
wrong. I just haven't run into that. It could be a thing, but I have not run into it. And I would like to think that the Google Analytics tracking is more sophisticated than if I come to your site through a Google Ads click and then click to a second page on your site. I'm then a direct traffic and not Google CPC. So I just have not seen this as an issue. And honestly, Chris, going forward, I'm still, when it makes sense to import from Google Analytics, I'm still going to do that because, I've seen it work. So I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. But it's nice to know that this is out there, and it's something good to kind of be aware of and double check and make sure it's not happening to your account,
Yeah. I agree. I'm not changing everything. I
You a little
don't
nervous,
think
Chris?
that
You a little nervous about this?
it did. I'll tell you what made me nervous. I mean, real talk here. What made me nervous is the level of depth that I did not understand what the guy was talking about. Like the stuff that, like
But
I'm a
you don't
specialist.
have
I
to,
work in
because
Google Ads.
we have cool tools, Google Analytics, Google Ads. Don't you think they've got it?
Yeah. I mean, that's why I was like, I don't understand what he's talking about. So I can't argue I can't make my own point. I can't draw my own conclusion because I have no frame of reference of whether, this is biased. Maybe the guy also owns a software that does third-party tracking, or who knows, I don't know. So I don't really know. I don't really know how to interpret it, but it only makes me more firm on the statement that I've always told clients. I've always told clients the number that you see for conversions represents a minimum number of leads, sales, conversions from Google Ads. There's always more that could have happened. There's always holes in the system. We always have people that call a phone number that isn't tracked, fill out a form that they used a different browser on, different computer on, different device on.
Send a fax in to the fax number on the site.
Yeah.
You can track that, big boy.
Or they call and hang up and then use a different phone and call, and that's the call that works. But the first one lasted less than 60 seconds, so it didn't get tracked. There's all kinds of instances. So in the end, it just reinforces the fact that yes, I think it could be a factor, but I'm not changing things. I appreciate the information, but in the end, I'm still going to use analytics when it's the best resource for me to track conversions. Yeah. I would say when it comes down to it, I would say it's probably close to a 50-50 split between when I'm using Google Ads conversion code tracking and analytics tracking.
Sometimes
that's a super rough estimate.
You just get in a spot where a client, it's not really easy with their web people or lack of web people or whatever to add new conversion code to the site, but they do have analytics on there and they can get you access to analytics, and then you can set up goal tracking and import to Google Ads. And that's better than not being able to add the conversion code. So you got to take it if it's there. The one thing it did make me think, Chris, is I thought to myself, well, you know what? All things being equal, you probably can't go wrong using Google Ads conversion code straight from the Google Ads account. And I was even thinking about what's that thing everyone loves that I'm not a big fan of because I just like being straightforward with simple codes. The Google thing you put on your site and then you put all the codes into it.
Oh, the tag manager. Google
tag manager. Yeah, I've never been a tag manager guy. I've always been a straightforward. They said put the code there, put the code there, I'll put the code there. And so even with tag manager, I've run into some issues where it's like I tell someone here's the code, and they go, we put it in tag manager. Our web people said they put it in tag manager, and then I'm not able to look at the source code and be like, okay, I actually see it there. It's like
you can't see it.
Yeah. So I just, my preference probably would be always like, yes, if you can, get the code directly from the Google Ads account, but put it right directly on the site, and then you can verify it's there. And I don't hate that. Like, I love that. So to me,
might as well,
if you can do it that way.
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to be gung ho about doing Google Ads only code and not using analytics, you might as well start a second shop to explain to those owners how to install code. I mean, you might as well start a new business called explaining how to
if you're a
install
Google Ads
Ads
manager
code.
and saying, I'll only do it if it's Google Ads conversion tracking.
You better set
I
up a
got
new charging scheme, because you're going to spend hours sending videos on the phone, like sending screenshots, diagnosing why it's not working. You're going to have to become an expert in all the different platforms, WordPress and Wix and all that kind of stuff, figuring out like how in the heck you're going to, like, why is it not working? Because sometimes you're just going to need to use Google Analytics, like Jason said. You're going to end up having a second job explaining that and figuring it out and troubleshooting.
Yeah, use what you can. So
we have Solarud. Want to hear from Solarud again?
Oh yeah, sorry, Chris. So we want to thank Kyle for sponsoring today's episode. Kyle Solarud and his program EliteLocalAds.com. Elite Local Ads is a comprehensive training program put together by our friend Kyle Solarud. It's designed to help you get more customers for any local businesses using Google Ads. The program includes 8 complete training modules covering everything from keywords to ads to advanced campaign optimization, retargeting, and more. It's not inexpensive, but there's a ton of value, and the value is off the charts, and there's even a 30-day refund policy. Kyle's had over 150 students, and he's only ever had one person request the refund. You can see more for yourself at EliteLocalAds.com, including several testimonials from professionals who've been through the program already. Again, that's for anyone who's running Google Ads for local businesses. Check out EliteLocalAds.com. Chris, we hear from a lot of listeners, hey, I'm starting out. I've got a few clients. I want to get a system down. I want to learn how to do this for them. Kyle's got it for you. EliteLocalAds.com. Check it out, and we will have links in the show notes and description. So, Chris, thank you for being here. Listeners, thank you for being here. We will be back Monday. Bring your boxing gloves. Bring your popcorn. We've got a great debate that will be spirited, that will be forceful, but at the end of the day, it will be respectful, and it'll be about the debate and the content, and we will not make it personal. It will be highly respectful and professional, but it will be a great debate, and it's been a while, and we've got some personal tensions and rages that might need to be worked out through this great debate, and I think it will be healthy for the host of this program. What do you think, Chris?
I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to start preparing now.
My one piece of advice to you, because I want to win. I'll crush you. I'll always crush you.
No.
But at the end of the day,
you do not have a winning record. No. Don't even act like you have a winning record, Jason. Do we need to bring up?
But at the end of the day, I'm in it for a great show, and I don't want to just absolutely destroy you in 7 minutes and not be able to put on a show. So my advice to you is do not come into this overconfident, because last time you've acted, when we talked about it, you acted very overconfident. I'm worried about you not preparing right. I'm worried about not getting the best Chris Schaefer I can get for this contest. And I need you to take me seriously. I need you to train properly. And I need you to not let the audience down. I need you to come prepared and at least be able to put up a fight. I'm not saying it's going to go to a decision, but at least let us go to the second or third round before I absolutely destroy you and you're laying unconscious in a pile of your blood, drooling and urinating yourself on the mat as I completely verbally, physically, and emotionally destroy your life.
Sounds like a great episode, Jason. I'm really looking forward to it.
You looking forward to that, Chris?
Yeah, it sounds like great. What was it you said like the other day? You're like where they're bent. They're like
if someone calls me and says if someone calls me and they says they want to do business in 2020, their persuasion is so strong these days, Chris. I'm going to have them curled up in a ball, choking on their own feces. I reach my hand into their pocket and steal every last dollar they'll ever have in their life, Chris. No, that's a joke. We're joking around. You know what I'm saying? We're having jokes. It's a Friday as we record this. Thursday as you listen. Relax. Take it easy.
Choking on their own. Oh, I'm going to throw up. Okay, that's it. Thanks, guys. We'll be back Monday.